Hello, this is Colonel Craig Jacobson, and this is Tides of War, the Historic Battles. Beginning with Austerlitz, Gettysburg, and Chickamauga, our carved wood game board holds up to 20 32 by 34 inch large battle maps for our militarily realistic, patent-pending board and miniature games.
It is December 1805 on the frozen fields and lakes of Austerlitz. It is 3 sweltering days in 1863 on the fields and hills of Gettysburg, and 2 months later in the charred woods of Chickamauga Creek. It is these and more, and you are there.
At the Battle of the Three Emperors, Austerlitz, when Russian and Austrian columns pour over Pratzen Heights, across Golbach Stream, and into Telnitz and Sokolnitz in an effort to cut Napoleon's supply line to Vienna. But it's a trap.
You are at Gettysburg, where the issue is decided on the immortal high ground of Little Round Top, Cemetery Ridge, Cemetery Hill, and Culp's Hill.
Or you are at Chickamauga, the only major Civil War battle where Confederates held a numerical advantage. And this is only the beginning of our historic battle series.
Endorsed by Major General Alan Salisbury, the games are designed by our team of professional officers, combat veterans, military historians, graphic artists, software experts, and avid board gamers.
Our collector's edition games include pewter miniatures of brigade and other commanders. Attached to unit counters, they are rotated to reflect casualties or reinforcements with a unique patent-pending system that effectively combines traditional board and miniature wargaming.
Play with our regular or image dice, or cut the time in half with our computer and smartphone app. Simply enter each attacking and defending unit's strength, hexagon number, and hexagon orientation letters, and the app does the rest. After accounting for terrain, entrenchment, and angle of attack advantages, the app will calculate the odds and engage a random algorithm to determine combat results.
Just as in actual combat, casualties tend to be incremental, which is why you, not the dice or app, decide when to advance or when to retreat. The combat results table comes both in hard copy for use with dice or in the app's memory. You decide to remain or retreat. If you stay, a second dice roll or app input completes the turn.
Whether you are a military professional or civilian wargamer, pro or amateur, reenactor or genealogist, these exciting new games are sure to captivate.
Before us is our battle map of Gettysburg, and here is our military map rig, a helpful tool when moving so many units around such a large board. Here we have a copy of the rules, the odds table, the combat results table, and those combat altering cards. Now, as we pan across the map, we see the town of Gettysburg, a true crossroads. It is 1 July 1863, the first day of battle. The brigades we see actually arrived at various times, but are shown here for visual purposes. To the south, Federal reinforcements are coming up Tawnytown Road. It's Hancock's 2nd Corps. To the northwest, we see A.P. Hill's Confederates pouring down Chambersburg Pike and colliding with Reynolds' 1st Corps. And just north of the town, Ewell's 2nd Corps is about to overwhelm the Federal 11th Corps. The Federals cannot hold, but can they delay? Let's see. Unit combat factors are displayed in an arc in front of each commander. Those commanders are turned toward the number representing the brigade's current strength. But that will change when the action commences and the commanders are rotated to lower and lower numbers as casualties are taken. Today we are going to use the dice and combat results table instead of the phone app to determine combat outcomes. In this way you will see how those results are calculated. And here are a few basic rules. Each hexagon, numbered and lettered for phone app purposes, represents 300 yards. Black outlines indicate high ground, blue outlines buildings, and red outlines linear obstacles, including the railroad cuts, sunken road, and stone wall. Cavalry moves up to 4 hexes a turn, artillery 3 hexes, but only 2 if it unlimbers and fires in the same move. Infantry moves 2 hexes, Cavalry has a combat zone of 1 hex, infantry 2 hexes, and artillery 4 hexes. Combat has commenced. It's the Confederate turn. They draw a card. The card says, when Brigadier General Gordon arrives on the field, he increases the combat factor of any unit he accompanies by 2. He was one of General Lee's most trusted generals. His unit has already suffered some loss. He's at a 3, so we're going to move him to a 5 before the attack begins. Now the units will move to the attack. You'll notice that the artillery is fighting the artillery. Avery will come and enfilade. Gordon will attack. And the Confederates are going to attack all along the line at what will come to be known as Barrow's Knoll. We begin with the artillery. In each turn, artillery can engage artillery and counter battery fire, or engage infantry and cavalry if no enemy artillery is involved. But infantry and cavalry cannot return fire until the enemy artillery is in their combat zones, in their range. So we'll commence with the artillery. We have 5 against 4 combat factors. We roll the dice. Having looked at the odds table, it's 1.5 to 1. Combat results table at 1.5 to 1 on counter battery fire, which is the lower level. Shows that the defender loses 1 combat factor, the attacker loses none. That change has been made. Now we start with the infantry attack. You'll note that Von Gilsa is on high ground. He's on a black outlined hex. He's being enfiladed by Avery. Avery has 4 combat factors, so he triples to 12. Gordon has 5. O'Neill has 6. Doles has 4. So what we have here is 6 and 4 is 10, plus 5 is 15, plus 12 is 27 against Von Gilsa at 4, and that doubles to 8. So we have 27 to 8. We go to the odds table, and 27 to 8 comes out 3.5 to 1. The dice are rolled at 3.5 to 1. We get a 2. 2 on the 3.5 to 1 has the defender losing 2 combat factors. So we take Von Gilsa and we rotate him down by 1. The reason it's only 1 is because he had doubled on the hill, so he only loses 1 instead of actually 2. We then have the rest of the attacks going. And what we have here is 7 and 5, that's 12 against 4, that's 3 to 1. So roll the dice for that. That's 4 on a 3 to 1. And the defender loses 2. So we'll rotate him down from 4 to 2. And that leaves these 3, that's 4, 5 is 9, and 7 is 16 against 4. And so we have 4 to 1 for that one. And that's 1 on a 4 to 1, and he loses 2. Now here's where it gets interesting. From a militarily realistic point of view, no one retreats unless they choose to retreat. And if the Federals choose to retreat now, they can retreat 1, or they can retreat 2. If they retreat 2, it's considered a rout, and they pay a heavy penalty for that. If they stand, the Confederates can continue to fight them from this distance, or they can close. And if they close to within 1 hex, that's considered the charge move. And when they have that battle, if the Federals are retreating from that, it's an automatic rout. So from the Federal point of view, they're faced with a dilemma here. If they pull back, they have no high ground left. If they stay, they're going to be overwhelmed. Clearly, at this point, it's time for them to pull back. And that's what we will see here. So the Federals are going to pull back. They're going to retreat one. And that ends this particular turn. It is now the Federal turn. They'll commence by drawing a card. It is an interdiction card. It says when 3 interdiction cards have been accumulated, you may return them to the deck, and your opponent must immediately remove 3 combat factors from any unit. Now we'll begin by moving the Federal reinforcements forward. The infantry can move 2 plus 1 on the road. So we'll take these, 1, 2, 3. And the same thing with these, bring them right on up. And the units that were in contact are going to pull back. They can move 2 units, 2 hexes. We'll go 1, 2, 1, 2. One, two. And he's going to hold on to the high ground here. This flank has been turned. That means these folks are going to have to pull back as well from McPherson Ridge to Seminary Ridge. And this time there is no combat, and it would be the Confederate turn. This concludes the demonstration. It gets quite exciting from this point because as the units close and go into the charge mode, that's equivalent to a bayonet charge, and some units are going to surrender, some are going to fall back in a regular retreat, and some are going to be routed. So it's a question of whether or not the Federal reinforcements will arrive in time. And that's what the game is all about. We hope you enjoyed it.
Now, as the credits roll, we want to especially thank Major General Alan Salisbury for his highly regarded endorsement, and thank all of you for making the launch of these important games possible.